What is up, world changers? Welcome to the Mission Driven Impact YouTube channel, where we help nonprofit, social entrepreneurs, and impact driven business leaders raise awareness for their organization by clarifying their message and spreading the word and building a loyal community of fans and supporters and all that good stuff. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be so much of a how-to video or a step-by-step kind of tips or takeaway type video. I wanted to dive deeper into something that I talk about a lot, I reference a lot, directly or indirectly. I'm constantly recommending this. We do a lot of work with this in my coaching sessions, and it is the StoryBrand Messaging Framework, or the SB7, as sometimes it's called. And this framework comes out of the book Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. The sequel to this book was was Marketing Made Simple. And now Don is doing stuff with Business Made Simple University, Marketing Made Simple, Proposals Made Simple, Messaging Made Simple, Communication Made Simple. And I think that what that whole team is doing is incredible. I'll absolutely link to the description, and you should absolutely go and check them out. But this framework, they are kind of, they're very upfront about the fact that they didn't invent this framework, they just named it. They popularized it in a business setting, but it is basically the formula for how all great stories have been told throughout history. And why are we talking about stories and stuff in the context of business? It's because everything we do is inviting people into the story. We are inviting customers and clients to take place in a story. We are inviting funders and donors and volunteers and supporters, fans, to become characters in our story. And so it's worth learning how to tell a good story so that we can position ourselves to then start getting results and to be effective and to be compelling and inspiring in the market. Before I go any further, let me say that everything rests upon your messaging and your positioning. And basically that's, I guess, just fancy ways of saying, how do you talk about your business? How do you communicate your business to the people who you're trying to reach? And instead of starting with your website or a blog post or the content you want to produce, or a brochure or your elevator pitch or whatever, start with thinking, how do I want to talk about my business? What are the core things that we want to say? And the StoryBrand Framework is just a really powerful tool for helping you do that. And then all your marketing, the way you talk about yourself in the back of an Uber or a taxi, all of that flows according to this framework. And that's why I think it's just so powerful. You can apply the StoryBrand Framework to a lot. So of course this can serve as the sort of foundational messaging framework for your entire business, but you can also use this on a blog post to blog post basis. You can also use this for each of your YouTube videos, right? You can use this for chapters in a book, or if you're giving a presentation, for instance, if I'm speaking anywhere or something like that, I use the StoryBrand Framework and just kind of fill in the blanks. So it is so applicable, it is so powerful. Not a week goes by where I'm not applying this in a new way. So I hope this video serves by really diving into the theory of it. Stay tuned, keep watching to the end, because I've got a bonus tip that is just going to make sure that you squeeze every amount of value that you can and get maximum results out of the StoryBrand Framework. All right, there are 7 points, 7 chapters in this story, 7 steps to the framework, but the thing that guides all of them, and remember, we're thinking about all great stories throughout history, is that great stories capture transformation. And it's the same thing when you are a business or you're serving a certain population as a nonprofit, right? What you do is you get people from A to B. You facilitate that transition, that transformation. And so the story we tell always has to keep in mind that before and after picture. Keep that in mind. I always like to say that at the beginning. Think about what is the before and after for the people that you serve. When you're giving a presentation or recording a video or whatever it is, think about what is your audience dealing with before, and what do you want them to feel after? What do you want them to do after? We'll revisit this at the end, so let's jump right in. Step 1, a character. So simple enough. Who are you talking to? And I think the important part here is that your audience, who you're speaking to, who you want to invite into the story, they are the hero of this story, right? You're laying out the story, but they are the hero. And they're about to go on a whole long journey, this transformation from A to B. But your character, they're the hero. Keep that in mind. And so what do they want? What are their goals? What are they trying to accomplish or achieve? And even a layer deeper is, who do they want to become? Right? What is that identity piece? Right? So people don't just want to achieve weight loss. Right? Maybe they have an ultimate goal. Is to look good in front of their significant other, to be healthy so that they can fight off a disease or live longer. There's kind of a saying in marketing: people don't buy a mattress, they buy a good night's sleep. Right? So what does your character really want? That's step number 1. Chapter 2, your character has a problem. Right? Your customer, your client, they want to achieve something. They want to accomplish something. But what's standing in their way? If nothing was, well, 1, they would have it, and 2, they wouldn't need you, right? So what is the problem that you solve? And in the social impact space, especially, a lot of us shy away from addressing the problem. We don't want to be manipulative. We don't want to be exploitative. We don't want to push on people's negative emotions. And the solution to that is, well, then don't, right? But you are in business for a reason. You are functioning as a nonprofit or as some sort of charitable enterprise, as a B Corp, whatever. You are functioning like that for a reason. If you're not, you wouldn't be in business. And so our problem is just wrapping up, what is that to us and to our character, to our clients and to our customers? There's the external problem, there's the internal problem, and there's a philosophical problem. So the external problem is like, what is actually happening to your customer, to your client? Let's say that I'm some sort of, this is completely off the top of my head, let's say that I'm an environmental conservation nonprofit and I'm doing a campaign that appeals to donors. The external problem is trash in our oceans, just pollution in our oceans. That's an external problem. Well, how does that make us feel? Maybe it makes us feel a little guilty, like we're contributing to climate change or something like that. Maybe it makes us feel kind of sad for the earth, or a little enraged because we feel that we need to be treating our home with respect. We need to be treating the earth with stewardship. Depending on the angle of our business, maybe it makes us feel a little bit powerless because we know that it's big corporations, it's big government, and things like that are really the primary drivers of pollution in our ocean. And so I might feel like, okay, I recycle, but I don't really know if that's doing anything for the earth, right? And so that's an internal problem that your business can come along and address. Then there's the philosophical problem. When I do this with my coaching clients, we often start with phrases like, it's just plain wrong to fill in the blank. No one should have to blank, right? So it's just plain wrong that this is happening to the earth, right? To our oceans. It's unjust. It's unfair, right? This shouldn't be happening. And I think a fourth thing is that every great story has a villain, right? And we're not trying to villainize people or demonize people in our marketing, but what is Harry Potter without Voldemort? What is Star Wars without Darth Vader? And if you could point to a root cause as the villain, it's a very powerful rallying cry. That's something for people to gather around. And so if you're this environmental reclamation nonprofit and you're appealing to donors, you could say it's just plain wrong that this is happening to the earth. There's trash in oceans and we feel powerless about it. The cause of this is big government agencies. The cause of this is big corporations who value profit over people, over the planet. And so you point to that as root cause, and people rally around that. Obviously, I could talk about this for hours in our coaching sessions. I devote so much time just to the character, to the problem alone. So if you have any questions, comment down below. And I'd love to just hear what your thoughts are, what other remaining questions you have, and I'll make a video around those as well. Chapter 3, your character has a problem and they meet a guide who understands their fear. This is where your business comes in, right? Your business is not the hero of the story, and I've said that before, and so you might be thinking, well, then what part does my business play? Your business is the guide. It is it is Luke Skywalker's Yoda. It is Harry Potter's Dumbledore. You are the guide that facilitates that transition. Remember, we were talking about the transformation? You facilitate that transformation from A to B. You help, and we'll get into this in a second, you help the hero overcome the challenges that they're facing. And so how do you do this practically as a business? It's empathy and it's authority. It doesn't have to be complicated. One sentence: how can you express that you understand what your customers is going through? You care, you understand their pain, you know what they're going through. And the authority piece is that how can you demonstrate that you actually have the ability or the competence to help them overcome this problem, right? It's one thing to understand someone's weight loss pain, but if I have no idea how to help them overcome it, right, that's not going to make me a very good personal trainer, right? And so demonstrate empathy and authority. I care, and I have the ability to help you overcome that. Why? Because maybe my own personal story, maybe I did that. I experienced this as well, and I overcame these challenges. I've helped dozens or hundreds of other people, other companies do this. I won such and such award, recognizing that I can do this, right? Recognizing the work that I do. Testimonials here are great. Again, what can you do to show people that you care and then get them to trust you? Chapter 4, the guide gives them a plan. And so practically in your business, this is sort of lifting the fog for your customers. If you could, not if, you need to, what are 3 or 4 steps that just completely encapsulate the process of working with you? Maybe this is a specific program. Maybe this is your business in general, how you operate. Obviously, I'm in business. I understand that businesses don't just function in 3 steps. But if you could summarize all of these into groups or categories, it does a ton to just give your customer, give your client, give your donor clarity around what is happening. So again, completely off the top of my head, I'm this environmental reclamation nonprofit. I say, 1, we go into oceans, we send our teams of volunteers to go clean the oceans, and we scrub the coral reefs, and we fish trash out of the oceans and whatever. 2, we turn this waste, we turn cans and plastic and all this kind of garbage we find in the ocean, we turn these into bracelets, I think is a company does, or we turn these into jewelry and things like that. And 3, we use the proceeds to then lobby for policy changes that make it harder for big corporations and things to just divert their waste into landfills in the oceans without consequence. So obviously your nonprofit can do a lot more than that. Obviously there's a ton of steps that go into each of them, but it can be 1, 2, 3, right? Maybe cleanup, jewelry sales, and policy advocacy, right? Does that make sense? I hope so. Let me know. Chapter 5 is the guide calls the hero to action. And so just kind of quickly in business speak, we say there's a direct call to action and there is a transitional call to action. In business, I'm no life coach, but so let's just say in business, you don't get what you don't ask for. And so, if you're running a donation campaign, you need to ask for donations. If you want people to buy your product, you need to unapologetically sell that product, ask people to buy it, right? Don't just wait for it to magically happen, right? If I want comments on my YouTube video, which I do, I'm going to continue to ask you, leave a comment on this video. Let me know what you think. Let me know what questions I can ask for you, right? If I didn't, so you probably wouldn't, right? If you didn't ask people to buy your product, they probably wouldn't. If you didn't ask people for a donation, you get what I'm trying to say. So that direct call to action is, what do you want people to do ultimately to take that next step in that relationship between the hero and the guide, between your client and customer and the business? Do they need to book a call? Do they need to sign up for a consultation, give a donation, etc.? And that transitional call to action, what can they do in the meantime, right? Most people who just like visit your website for the first time, they're not going to be ready to buy from you or to book a call. And so what can people do in the meantime? Sign up for an email list. Check out our YouTube channel, right? Download our free guide, our free checklist on 5 things you can do to stop diverting your own personal waste to oceans. 5 things you can do to stand up to corporations, whatever, really running with this example. And so that is the chapter where you call people to action. Real simple. What do you want people to do? What do you need people to do? And then what can they do in the meantime? All right, we're diving into chapter 6, but just to recap, we've got a character has a problem, meets a guide that understands their fear, gives them a plan, calls them to action that helps them, this is 6, achieve success. What's the happy ending? We talked about what's at stake. Well, what happens when you avoid that? What happens when you overcome the challenges? It's more than just the character gets what they want, right? It's, if I'm helping someone lose weight, let's say I'm a personal trainer or something, the happy ending isn't that someone lost 50 pounds. It's that now they look amazing in front of their significant other. They feel that, they believe that. Now they feel amazing about themselves. They love themselves more than they ever have. Their health and their, the future of their health is more secure than it's ever been. They feel great about it, right? They can play with their kids again, right? Maybe joint pain or something like that doesn't hold them back. What is the happy ending? You got to think all the way there. What happens when the character gets what they want? What happens when your customers and your clients achieve what they want? What does that vision of the world look like for them? And this is the key, right? When we're talking about going from A to B, that's B, right? The happy ending is the B. We started with a character wanted something and they weren't quite sure, or they were stuck in terms of how to get it. And so now they've got it, and now the world looks a lot better. It's much more of a rosy place, right? Think in terms of a dramatic story. What does that world look like? That's what you got to identify here in chapter 6. Go back, paint the dream, and then what I always say is, what are the side effects of success? What happens in all areas of life when you're successful? When you lose 50 pounds, what happens? It's not just the scale moves. There's all these side effects of success. When you finally see the results that you've been waiting for in your business, what else is going to happen? You're going to stop losing sleep over this thing, right? You're going to not be worried about chasing the next grant, chasing a bunch of money around, right? What are the side effects of success? Chapter 7 is the flip side of that, right? Chapter 6 was achieve success. Chapter 7 is avoiding failure. So, right, the guide, hero of the guide, they go through all this stuff, they achieve success and they avoid failure. And this is going back to what we did in the second section, the problem. What's at stake? What is the cost of not working with you? What is the cost of, what happens if your nonprofit doesn't have donations? Again, if we're running a donor campaign, right? What does the world look like? What is the future of society? What is the future of all of our lives if we're not successful together, right? If your nonprofit goes away, if it doesn't exist, right? If, let's say that you offer a program or you sell a product, what happens if someone doesn't buy into that? What happens if someone doesn't sign up? What is the cost of inaction? Or what is the cost of going even with a different solution, right? So just from my own experience, right? I know that the cost of not working with me, it isn't just that organizations don't do anything, it's that they usually go with another organization. And then they come to my organization and say, well, that didn't work at all. Why not? Right? So now in my messaging, in my marketing, I can say, oh, you know what? You could go with another agency. You could go with a freelancer or something. You're probably going to run into these problems. That's what's at stake. And let me help you avoid that. Make sense? Hope so. All right, the possible expense of brevity. I wanted to give you 2 examples here of how I put these together in something that I call that, StoryBrand calls the BrandScript. And this is the first thing I do at the beginning of all my client engagements. All my clients, we go through a big workshop where we do this and we kind of put it into this story. And then you can kind of pull sentences and sections out of this depending on what you're doing. And the language doesn't have to be the same every time, right? This is just a rough template. But when you want to talk about what your customers want, when you want to talk about their problem, when you want to talk about what you do and the plan, right? The solution that you have, when you want to talk about why you're in business, you can start to pull from this. So let me give you two examples. One is from my own business, and one is from, I literally just did this a few minutes ago, from a nonprofit. A hypothetical nonprofit. So my BrandScript. See if you can pick out each chapter. At Mission Driven Impact, we know that you want to be a world changer. In order to do that, you need to raise awareness and scale your organization's impact. The problem is that you're wasting precious time and money on trial and error marketing strategies that aren't getting you results. That makes you feel anxious, uncertain, and like you can't devote the time you want to the work that makes a difference. We believe that if you're making the world a better place, if you truly believe that you are improving people's lives through your product, through your service, through your offer, then it is your obligation to share that with the world. We understand that getting the word out can be frustrating when you don't even know if what you're doing is working, which is why we help impact-driven business leaders create and execute a simple, repeatable blueprint for growing their organization. Here's how we do it. 1, we clarify your vision and help you craft a compelling brand message. 2, through one-on-one coaching or our fully done-for-you agency service, we create a unique content marketing strategy to get more eyeballs on your business and more people coming through the door. 3, we measure what's working, optimize your strategy accordingly, and offer personalized guidance at every step of the way. So book a free discovery call today. And in the meantime, check out my YouTube channel. That way you can stop wasting time and money, waiting for something to stick, and start making the impact you've always dreamed of. That's powerful, powerful messaging. Now let me stop talking about my own business and let me talk to you about this nonprofit that I just made up. So let's imagine that this hypothetical nonprofit, it's a startup nonprofit that saves food waste from landfills, and they target restaurant owners. At Zach's Food Waste Reclamation, great name, we know that you want to be a good steward to the earth. In order to do that, you need to prevent the food waste from your restaurant from ending up in a landfill. The problem is, that's easier said than done, right? Between the bustle of a busy kitchen and inadequate solutions from public waste management, it's nearly impossible to separate waste in the first place, especially if it all ends up in the same place anyway. That can leave you feeling a little guilty, but without knowing anything else to do. It's not fair for the requirements of sustainability to rest solely in your hands as a restaurant owner. And like you, we were frustrated at the lack of workable solutions. That's why we've helped dozens of restaurants in New York City effortlessly divert food waste from landfills, earning the Mission Driven Impact World Changer Award, not a real award, along the way. Here's how we do it. 1, we provide multiple state-of-the-art bins that make it easy to separate waste without taking up space around your kitchen workstations. 2, we pick up the bins each night when your restaurant closes, so you don't have to worry about waste sitting around your kitchen. 3, our inclusive staff of individuals transitioning away from homelessness get paid a living wage to process recycling and compost, which then gets donated to community gardens in underserved neighborhoods. Send us an email to learn more about how we partner with eco-conscious restaurateurs in New York. And in the meantime, download our free PDF guide, 5 things you can do today to reduce waste in industrial kitchens, so you can stop putting food in landfills and instead set an example for sustainable dining everywhere. Okay, so you see that was a little bit different than the first one, but all the elements are the same. We're talking about our character. What do they want? We're positioning ourselves as the guide to help them get there. We're talking about what's at stake, what the problem is. We're outlining our plan so it is crystal clear. It seems easy to work with us. and we're calling them to action. We're calling them to that happy ending and avoiding failure. And most importantly, we are capturing that transformation, that A to B, right? But that's a great story, and we want to invite people to join us in that story. All right, this has been a long video, so this is the last thing I'll say, but your bonus tip is to get the most out of this, you've got to do audience research. And it is not enough to just guess at what people want, at how the problem feels to them, at what the happy ending looks like to them, right? You want to use, in marketing, we call this voice of customer data, right? You just want to use the actual words, the actual language that your customers and your clients and your audience is actually using. One, that way, whether it's on your website or a video, a commercial, when you're giving a presentation, when you're in the back of an Uber and someone says, tell me what you do, you're using words that you know will resonate with the right people. But it's also because it'll actually help you design your programs, help you design your products much better when you actually know why your clients want what they want, how it feels to not have that thing, who they really want to become, and all that sort of stuff. So don't just guess, go out and do your homework. All right, how effective your messaging and your marketing strategy is a direct result of how well you know your audience, how well you know the people that you're talking to. And so to help you with that, I put out a video pretty recently. It's called 3 Questions You Need to Be Asking Something to Guide Your Marketing Strategy. Basically, the 3 sets of questions that you ask yourself, your past and your previous customers and clients, and your future, your prospective customers, clients, and donors, to really give you a great sense of how the problem feels to them, what they are actually looking for, what this actually means to them, the words that they're using, et cetera, et cetera. So go watch that video. I think that will really serve you. That will really help you fill in the answers to this brand script. Until then, like and subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any new videos, and I will see you in the next one.